Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Stock and I am bringing you the latest stock information in the stock market. This is for entertainment purposes only, even though I do trade in some of these stocks myself. Make sure that you contact a financial advisor before taking a position on any of these stocks. Today I'm taking a look at NIO and the upcoming NIO Day on January the 9th. I gotta tell you, I got my stock analysis ready, I got my stock prediction ready, so stick around and without further ado, let's get ready to rock. All right, welcome back. Before we get started, make sure that you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell, give it a like, share it with your friends. Really help me keep this channel growing. The more support I have from you guys, the more information that I can bring to you guys. That support is vitally important. As a matter of fact, in just this past short week, we've already gone from 0 up to 100 subscribers, and I have this very official looking YouTube post-it for 100 subscribers. I may have made that myself. I'll never tell. I've taken enough of your time. Let's get into my stock analysis. So NIO Day is taking place on Saturday, January the 9th, and this is a pretty auspicious time for us. We have passed the end of year sell-offs. The stimulus checks, they're going out. Biden's taking office on January the 20th, and the importance there is that he is huge on the EVs and clean energy. He wants 550,000 new charging stations. So for those of you who like SBE charge point, some of you like Blink, you know, that's big for us. He really wants to compete with China, which means a lot of growth here. But the thing is, competing with China, that competition also drives China to compete with the US. China wants 25% of vehicles to be EVs. I believe that year is 2025. You can fact check me on that one, but it is in the coming years that they're going to phase out a lot of the ICE vehicles that we have and replace them with electronic vehicles. Another thing that we don't want to overlook is the fact that Tesla broke $700, and I know that this is a stock video about NIO, but Tesla being seen as a leader in the EV space, that price going up also pushes up the price of the other EV companies. It's upward pressure, so it gives confidence to the buyers in the EV space that EVs really are the new wave, the new technology, the new thing that's going to really be directly in competition with the ICE vehicles. On NIO Day itself, we have a lot of different announcements. I have my notes here just to make sure that I don't miss anything. They are coming out with their first sedan, the first ever, and it's supposed to be a sports coupe in competition with Audi. They also have an advanced driver system platform, the NT 2.0, rumored to also include LiDAR. Improved battery swap stations to be more comprehensive for the users. 150 kilowatt hour battery, that's a big landmark because that significantly outpaces ICEs as far as range. That was one of the limitations for me when it came to considering buying a new vehicle. Do I go with ICE or do I go EV? And this was years ago. This was much earlier in the development of EVs, and I decided to go with an ICE because the range was not there. It would not have gotten me from point A to point B, and I would have had to plan my trip around charging stations. We have better infrastructure now with those charging stations. We're getting better range. If Tesla put out a vehicle that had 550 miles to a single charge, I would be right there at their doorstep on their dealership ready to buy this vehicle. Those are some of the highlights of NIO Day coming up. Those are some of the things that we expect to see. Really, it all comes down to financials. Even though the financials will not be reported on NIO Day, it'll likely be in February before they report their earnings again, we can still get a bit of an estimate over how many vehicles that they've sold for the year of 2020. Did they meet their goals? If they did, then we have good signs for their revenue going forward and their earnings per share. We're looking for an increase in both of those things. We would like to see them really become a profitable company. With NIO, it might be all about buying the rumor and selling the news. So we can buy into the hype of this. We can really catch the wind, let it push us upward, let us push that stock price upward, just go right along with it. Set a trailing stop loss. That way, if the wind comes out of our sails and the news comes out on NIO Day, even if it's positive news, selling the news is something that still happens. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the company. I think fundamentally NIO is a great company. Now, about that stock price. How high is NIO going to go in the near term? How high is it going to go in the future as they move forward, as they mature as a company? Those are things that takes a little bit more of a technical look combined with the fundamentals that we've discussed. Here we have the Webull desktop app. This is NIO stock price pulled up, and I'm using the daily chart to look at this. First, I'd like to take a look at the support levels that we have going forward. We have a support level down here at about $42 a share, back here about $39.50 or so, back here at about $38.50. So those three support levels are going to be crucial as we move forward in this. I really think that this one is a really solid area for support. I doubt that we're going to drop down much. 40, I think that round number is important to us when we look at this in terms of support levels. I would be really, really surprised if we dropped all the way down to 38 and certainly not down to this bottom of 25. Something would have to be seriously bad in order to see that much drop. I just don't see that happening, and I'll give you that evidence why. First, let's talk about the resistance levels. So $50. $50 is a really important thing here. We have this top forming, right? We peekabooed just over $50 here, $50.50. Back here, we had a high of $49.84. That $50 mark has been so rough as we come through this stage. Back here, when we're at $57.20, this is before the delisting announcement came out. Not that they're going to be delisted, but that the New York Stock Exchange would like further evidence, be able to audit the companies to make sure that they are trading in good faith and that they are reporting accurately with their financial information. So what else do I see in this chart besides support and resistance? Well, look at these lows that we have. We have this low, we have a higher low, and then we have a higher low yet. And then from the highs, we have that lower high, but then it goes higher, but then it goes higher. So we have both the highs and the lows more recently during, if you look at the volume, we're in a slight consolidation period here, even though we're experiencing some volatility. This thing's moving sideways overall with just a slight upward movement. And I think that's going to be important into the rest of my analyses. So if we take a look at our last close, it was $48.74. So that means that we're about $1 away from resistance, maybe a little bit more to that resistance, that $50 mark. Again, I'm ballparking here. We have about $6 to fall from that close down to our first area of support level. Let's take a look at some of the other indicators that we have. If we look at the EMA 200, you can see that we're still in a bullish period. So even though there's slight consolidation, slight sideways movement, it is still moving upwards through this time. So we have upward pressure there, plus the other things that I mentioned in the fundamental discussion. If we look at the moving average that we have, you can see that we are just a little bit above support already. So in the near term, if this came a little bit down and tagged that, I wouldn't be surprised. I think as we get into the new year, the sell-offs are over. I wouldn't be surprised to see this continuing upwards. You can see even from the moving average that we have this low here in the moving average, and now we have a higher low. This still has bullish potential, and I think it will be bullish leading up to NIO Day. If I bring up the relative strength index, the RSI, when you look down here, another thing that I like to see is that down here we're at 44, so we're in bearish territory. Then we have a higher low again here at about 47. We're closing in on 50. We're moving into bullish territory, and then we break 50. This stock is still showing bullish on the RSI with the volume being a little bit lower. With that consolidation, we have a little bit of weakness there, but we also have the bias of the trend. This is going to carry higher. When I bring up the MACD, you can see we have the low volume back here. This is way back. This is looking all the way back to September and October. You can see that consolidation, that sideways movement, not a lot of volatility compared to what we have here. Let me zoom in on this spot a little bit more. Here's what I find to be extra interesting. So we have the bullish behavior here. We have the RSI creeping back up, crossing back up over to 50, back into that bullish but not overbought territory. So this could be a good time. When you look at the MACD, we have that intersection, that crossover point between the MACD and the signal line. As this thing turns from that temporary bearish position, this thing's going to switch back up into an uptrend, at least in my opinion. The last indicator that I would like to look at are the Bollinger Bands. Let me get rid of these two. I don't like to have a cluttered screen. So in the Bollinger Bands, if I zoom out just a little bit, you can see here we have volatility, and then it goes back to consolidation. We go back to a breakout, back to a little tiny area of consolidation, a little bit more consolidating. There's the next breakout that we have, and you can see it stayed pretty volatile. And then here we start to converge. This is December 4th. They spread apart just a little bit more volatility in there, but we're back to this narrowing area here. So you can see more of that consolidation taking place, less volatility. This is setting up for a breakout. And with the evidence that I've discussed, the fact that this is already looking bullish, and if I were to trade this with the trend, this thing's going to turn around back up into higher prices, especially as we near NIO Day with the rumors of all the good news coming out on NIO Day itself. Near the news, or when the news happens, we could see a sell-off as the whole sell the news thing goes. But long term, this thing will continue to rise, again, in my opinion. I want to take a quick moment just to discuss a buying point for the near term, an entry point that you might like to take. Looking at the 15-minute chart, the last trading day that we had, you can see we have all these tops crossing right here at about $50. So there's that $50 resistance that we kept running into. We had that slight peekaboo here when the trade day opened. So by 10 o'clock, we had that top, and you can see it quickly came back down. This bar closed at about $50. Still all about $50. That is important. Once we break that resistance, it could be off to the races. So for a buying point, I would buy above 50 to be safe. If you buy above the $50.50, that's the nearest local resistance that we have. I think anything above 50, we're golden for this thing to continue to stay bullish. This is where I'm getting my stop of about $48. The double pivot low that we have here is about $48.36, but I would give that a little bit more room, just so that way I have better potential should this thing take a quick dip as the market opens or experience some volatility throughout the next trading day. I would take it all the way down to 48, maybe 47.50, but that really starts to eat into my risk to reward. I think that 48 has enough room to really make this happen. I just wanted to take a second back here to the daily chart to mention NIO long-term price prediction. By the end of 2021, I could easily see NIO, as long as they hit their benchmarks quarter after quarter, easily rising up to $90 to $100 per share, as long as the production's there, as long as the earnings are there. Even if they don't make it to profitability, as long as they show progression, that they're getting closer to profitability every time, that they have an increase in revenue, increase in the number of vehicles that they're manufacturing, and that their earnings per share are also increasing along with it. I think there's good things on the horizon for NIO. Like I said, $90 to $100 easy by the end of 2021 with all those things in place. All right, that's what I have for you today. I hope that you found it informative. I wish you the best of luck in your days ahead trading. Remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell, give it a thumbs up if you like it, share it out with your friends. Remember that this video is for entertainment purposes only. Do your due diligence and contact your financial advisor before making any financial decisions. I'm Dr. Sock. Thanks for rocking with me. Now go get that money.